Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Christian Called Conservative. So, is everything racist now? Is that what we're doing? Just, if we don't like it, we just call it racist and say it's racist and the white man is trying to suppress the black person. Is that what's going on right now? I'm referencing the new Georgia voting integrity law that was put out. And the need for certain rules and regulations to make sure that voting is done fairly, correctly, legally. So, I don't know any black person who doesn't have ID. My 13-year-old son has identification. My 13-year-old son understands, for example, when we travel, that they make sure that I'm his mother. They check my identification as it relates to him because they want to make sure, like you told me just yesterday, they want to make sure that you're not trying to kidnap me. So this whole ID thing and how black people can't figure out how to get ID, let's just kill this right now. Okay. I will admit that when I first heard about this, I was thinking, of course, when I was more left, I was thinking to myself, oh, they're trying to make it hard for black people to vote. And then as I did my research and learned, I understand that there have been issues with voting for a very long time. The whole point of identification is to make sure that people can prove who you are when you're voting. Want to make sure that it is of the utmost integrity. Here's the thing. You need ID to buy cigarettes, buy alcohol. To return something at Walmart, they need ID. You need ID to buy a house, rent a house. You need ID to go on a plane, Delta, remember? Which is the interesting thing to me. So Delta Airlines and some other major corporations are saying how Georgia's racist and this is bad, is trying to suppress black people from voting. Look, dum-dum. The thing is, you need ID to get on a plane. So unless Delta's going to change that, which I doubt, you can't buy tickets to get on an airplane without some form of ID, your credit card. You get to the gate, they're looking for some form of identification. So I don't understand why there's such the hoopla. My issue is when you start hearing people of authority, the political figures, using terms like Jim Crow 2.0, I get really annoyed because people get revved up when they hear that, because they hear Jim Crow. They're thinking, okay, Jim Crow's bad for black people. And then 2.0 just means, oh my gosh, it's another version of it. Let's be clear about Jim Crow, okay? So I'm about to read you something that I got from the internet. Again, like I said, I don't want to just come at you with a whole bunch of emotions and stuff from the air. I'm going to give you facts. Jim Crow laws were state and local laws that enforced segregation in the southern U.S., which were enacted by southern white democratic states. How funny is that? Okay, continuing. These laws disenfranchised and removed political and economic gains made by black people during the Reconstructive period. Jim Crow laws were overruled by the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 is a federal legislation that prohibits racial discrimination in voting. So look, political figures and the people who are trying to get black folks all revved up, it's false to say this is Jim Crow 2.0 because your whole mission is to get people excited for no reason. Bottom line, you need to have ID for just to live in this country, okay? So to say that it's racist and it's all wrong and you're making it hard for black people to get ID, that's foolish because black people I know have ID. My kid has ID. So to say that is just getting people revved up for no reason. Now, like I mentioned earlier, there are major corporations that decided to say Georgia's wrong, Georgia's racist, and this is just disenfranchising black people. Let's be clear, Major League Baseball. You taking yourself out of Atlanta screw over black people. Yeah, I said it. Here's the thing, $100 million of revenue out of the city of Atlanta? How many people live in Atlanta who are black? Did you consider that? Over 50% of the people who live in Atlanta are of brown hue. And now they're moving to Colorado where there's 12% black people, but you're making a stand to say that this is wrong and we're going to help black people and we're not coming to Atlanta. Here's the thing, genius. When you leave Atlanta, and you can go because you can't come back. When you leave Atlanta, you're messing with the African American community and the businesses. The businesses in Atlanta are mostly Black owned. And by you pulling out of Atlanta, you are hurting the Black community. So bravo, which I think was actually your mission. Instead of you saying that we're trying to help, no, you're not trying to help. You've actually really screwed them up because they already have problems from COVID and the lockdown, and now you pretty much stuck it to them and left to go to Denver, Colorado, where I'm pretty sure they don't need the money. I think they're doing okay. So, like I mentioned, just trying to let you guys get educated and get some information. Let me know what you think. As always, subscribe to the channel. As always, put your comments on the bottom. As always, give it a thumbs up. Let me know, do you think the new laws is racist? Do you think it's trying to suppress Black people from voting? Do you think it's just their way of trying to keep us suppressed and down and not to have a voice? Or do you think we're getting revved up because political figures are making us all excited by using terms like Jim Crow 2.0 and saying that it's racist? Bottom line, let's think for ourselves. Let's think about it. What Black person you know does not have ID unless they're a child? And the only reason why my son has an ID is because we travel and he has a passport. So that's why he has one. But except for children, what Black person do you know does not have ID? Now, if you're thinking of older people, I won't lie to you. I did think about that too. I was like, okay, older folks may have a hard time getting to their ID, getting their driver's license or ID. But then I'm thinking about it. For some, they have supplemented income where they need ID to claim it, where they need ID to request it, where they need to prove who they are in order to get the supplemented income. So I'm thinking Nana and Papa, they have ID as well, and they will be able to get to the drop boxes because there are still drop boxes, and the days for voting have been extended to, I believe, 17 days, as opposed to in Colorado, I think it's 12, which is very entertaining for me. So again, like I said, I'm trying to grow and learn with you. So help me understand. Help me understand why we're getting so revved up about it's hard for us to get ID. You have ID. Stop making noise for no reason. Black people have ID. Black people know how to get ID. We're not so dumb that we can't figure it out. And here's a kicker. Let's say you have a neighbor, a Black neighbor, who does not have ID. They're making it easy for you to get ID. There are ways to get free ID, I'm hearing. Maybe not a driver's license, but to get identification. All you gotta do is prove who you are. And if that's the case, I'm pretty sure your neighbor can figure out how to get to the DMV. I'm pretty sure there are a couple of nerve endings down up there that they can figure out, okay, I probably need to Google how to get to a place where I can get ID. So again, look, leftists, stop getting folks revved up for no reason. And it's insulting to think that we can't figure out how to get ID. It's insulting for you to throw out terms like Jim Crow 2.0. This is nothing like Jim Crow at all. You're insulting the people who went through it. You're insulting the time in which the struggle that they went through by throwing Jim Crow 2.0 on it to get Black people revved up for absolutely no reason. It's insulting, and we won't be entertained by it anymore. Give us a thumbs up. Put your comments down on the bottom. Consider subscribing to the channel. And as always, I thank you. And if you don't agree, let me know. I'm curious. I want to learn like you want to learn. And like the word says, like the Bible says, that there is death and life in the power of the tongue. We've got to be careful what we're saying. And when politicians are throwing these terms out, those words mean something. They're like seeds, and they go into soil and they start to grow, and they get people revved up and nervous. So be careful, politicians, what you're saying, because we are paying attention and we will not be insulted by it. So be mindful of the words that you use. So as always, thank you so much for joining me. Again, thank you for joining Christian Cult Conservative. Put your comments on the bottom, and you take care. God bless. Bye.